The ultimatum. The stars outside the viewport were distant and cold, like the eyes of the Empire's envoy. Ambassador Velner of the Threx Dominion stood at the center of the Terran Council chamber, resplendent in shimmering armor plates and synthetic robes. His voice, electronically modulated and surgically pleasant, echoed across the room. Captain Rhea Vasquez is to be surrendered to Imperial custody within 72 Earth hours. Failure to comply will be considered an act of defiance. President Lien Chun didn't flinch. Behind her, the delegation from Earth, military brass, intelligence heads, and diplomats, remained silent. The room was carved from recycled titanium and ambition, built in orbit above a planet that had learned the hard way how to say no. Chun leaned forward slightly. She is no longer active duty. Earth has no record of her whereabouts. Velner's cybernetic jaw twitched. She assassinated Imperial blood. Prince Corvus was heir to the oligarchic flame. His death was not only an act of terrorism, it was regicide. She was defending herself from an illegal detainment operation on sovereign soil. Chun said, her voice low and controlled. We've reviewed the footage. Your prince's guards opened fire first. The Threxian ambassador raised one long, gloved finger. The Empire does not debate facts. We declare them. You will comply, or you will burn. The words hung in the air like radiation after a dirty detonation. When the chamber cleared, only Earth's leadership remained. The artificial gravity felt heavier. 72 hours, whispered General Rourke. He rubbed his temples. They're not bluffing. The fleet near Jupiter just added a dreadnought. They're baiting us, said Director Yelena Arden of Intelligence. They want an excuse. They have one, said Chun. They want her. A silence fell over the council. No one spoke Rhea's name. Not yet, but they all thought of her, black-clad, soaked in blood, eyes that didn't blink in gunfire. The Baba Yaga. The ghost Earth called when no one else could finish the job. Is she even alive? Rourke asked. She is, Yelena answered. Off-grid. Still under silent contract. We have one standing channel. Chun exhaled slowly. Then use it. 2 hours later, on a secure comm channel buried beneath 5 layers of encryption, a small icon pulsed green. Yelena's fingers hovered over the console. She hesitated, then tapped it. The voice on the other end was like gravel and static. I told you not to call me. We didn't, Yelena said. They did. A pause. Then, Empire. Yes. They want me. They demand you. Another pause. Then a quiet laugh. Still dramatic? What's the official line? That we don't know where you are. And unofficially, Yelena looked around her empty office. Finish the job. She was known by many names across the galaxy. The Wraith of Europa. The Silence on Ganymede. Baba Yaga. To Earth, she was Captain Rhea Vasquez, retired. To the Empire, she was the sharp edge of defiance, the one that got away. They framed her, hunted her, put a 1 billion credit bounty on her head. And they failed. Rhea sat in a forgotten bunker on the night side of Ceres, assembling the parts of a plasma lance while listening to the Empire's threat on loop. Corvus's death wasn't an accident. She'd meant it. She'd pulled the trigger when he ordered her team to kneel. War criminal, they called her. She called it Tuesday. The feed ended. Rhea stood, pulling on her coat. Her armor was matte black. No insignia, no flag, just purpose. Finish the job, Yelena had said. She knew what that meant. The job wasn't Corvus. It was the man behind him, the shadowy strategist Lord Keldrith, who engineered the peace summit as a trap, a political maneuver to push Earth into the Empire's fold. Corvus had been a pawn. Keldrith was the hand moving the pieces. She locked her rifle to her back. One last job. One last ghost. Back in orbit, the Terran Council met again. No one mentioned Rhea. They spoke in abstraction, possible escalation vectors, covert leverage, risk mitigation. President Chin stood, voice steady. We've chosen not to comply. Earth does not abandon its own. And we do not bow. General Rourke turned to her. Then what do we do? Chun looked out the viewport, where Earth glowed below in silence. We let her do what she was born to do. Echoes in the dark. The mining colony on Karnas, 7 stank of scorched metal and desperation. Entire sectors of the moon have been gutted for thorium-rich or leaving behind hollowed-out husks and lawless corridors. Officially, it was under Imperial jurisdiction. Unofficially, it was a den of smugglers, mercenaries, and the kind of secrets that couldn't survive sunlight. Rhea Vasquez, thin-framed, armored in matte black, and silent as vacuum, slipped through the shadows between rusted bulkheads and flickering neon signs. Her face was hooded, her gait measured. She passed through the bazaar unnoticed, just another drifter on a dying rock. Her target was clear. Keldrith's proxy, a mid-tier logistics officer named Varn Tulek, who was rumored to be laundering funds for the same black ops network that had framed her. She found him in a private lounge 3 levels beneath the miners' quarters, well-guarded, drunk, and loud. Told him, "You want Keldrith's favor. You move thorium through Pathway 9, not 7, he was saying, voice slurred. That's how you keep it clean. No scans. No records. Just boom, gone." 2 guards flanked him, ex-military by the way they held themselves. Rhea watched from the darkened corridor, lips tightening. She moved. 1, 2. A soft pop as her suppressor discharged. The first guard crumpled, throat gone. The second turned, eyes wide, too slow. She was inside his range before he could reach for a sidearm. A sharp twist, a crack. He fell. Varn blinked. WH. She grabbed him by the collar and slammed him into the table. "Hi," she said. "I'm the ghost your boss forgot to kill." 5 minutes later, in a maintenance tunnel lit by flickering backup LEDs, Varn Tulek sobbed as blood ran from his nose. "I don't know anything else, I swear. Keldrith doesn't use names, just codes. Dead drops. You think I want to be involved in this crap? He burns people, lady." Rhea held a plasma knife near his eye. "He framed me for regicide. You think I care about your nerves?" He whimpered. "There's a cache. Records. Messages. On level 9. Central processing vault. Biometric lock. My print opens it." Rhea stared at him, calculating, then nodded once. "Good boy." Level 9 was a forgotten command center sealed off after a mining collapse 2 years prior. Imperial tech sealed behind industrial wreckage. It took Rhea 2 hours and a rigged breaching charge to get in. Inside, dust, broken consoles, and one sealed vault door glowing faint blue. Varn's print worked. Inside the vault were dozens of black data rods, encrypted but not to her. She slotted one into her wrist pad. The screen lit up. Lines of text scrolled rapidly. Orders, logs, internal memos. Her breath caught. The Empire had orchestrated the summit failure. It had never been about peace. Corvus had been a pawn to draw Earth into a show of weakness. Keldrith's forces were already in position to retaliate the moment Earth bent the knee. It was all there: times, routes, kill orders. And Rhea's name was marked for neutralization, not capture. She copied the entire vault. As she slid the last rod into her pack, a faint alarm echoed down the corridor. She cursed. The bait worked too well. They came fast, 4 armored bounty hunters wearing Imperial crests, sweeping the corridor with carbon rifles. Rhea took cover behind a collapsed beam, then flanked around through a maintenance vent. She dropped behind the last one and fired once, clean, precise. He dropped. The others turned, too late. Flashbang. Screams. She moved like a shadow, carving through them with brutal efficiency. When the last one gasped beneath her boot, she leaned in close. "Tell Keldrith," she whispered. "I found his little library." And she crushed his comm with her heel. Later, in the stolen comms room of a freight hauler docked at Karnas 7's edge, Rhea began transmitting. She sent the data in coded fragments to Director Yelena Arden, encrypted, layered with fail-safes. If the Empire intercepted it, they'd only find static. Once complete, she collapsed into the pilot's seat and allowed herself a single breath. It wasn't over. Keldrith wouldn't run. She'd have to go to him. Orbital High Command Station, Karnas class, she thought. A floating fortress. He'd be there, surrounded by his generals, plotting the next phase. She had to end it. Clean. One last time. On Earth. Yelena Arden watched the data pour across her screen. Her expression darkened with every decrypted frame. War crimes. False flags. Political engineering. It was enough to shift the galactic narrative. God help them, she whispered, because the Baba Yaga's not done yet. Scorched Protocol. The Karnas-class orbital command station loomed like a dead god over the moon it ruled. 8 kilometers of rotating steel and weapons arrays, cloaked in artificial storms and sensor static. Its hull bristled with railguns and shield projectors. Imperial tech designed to repel fleets, not ghosts. Rhea Vasquez was already inside. She'd come aboard 3 hours ago in a stolen cargo pod, its heat signature massed beneath a waste barge. The pod's walls were lined with thermal-absorbent plating, a gift from Earth's Black Ops division. It slipped past the station's scanners like a shadow across glass. Now, she moved through maintenance ducts near the upper-tier administration wing, 3 levels below Lord Keldrith's war room. She was leaner now, battered, running low on charged cells. Her cloak was torn. Her body ached from the zero-G fight on Karnas 7. But her hands were steady, her eyes sharp. One mission, one kill. Rhea paused at a junction. Voices ahead, Imperial commandos. She listened. Keldrith says she's coming. Personally. Guy's paranoid. She wiped the whole team on Karnas. Wouldn't call that paranoid. She's just a human. No way she gets on board. Rhea smirked. 2 seconds later, both men were down. One garrote, the other tasered into a seizure. She dragged the bodies into a utility recess and moved on. The war room was sealed behind 3 layers of clearance, biometric gates, and one very bored security AI. Rhea didn't try to spoof it. She killed the power. A pulse charge from her forearm disrupted the station's local grid for 9 seconds, long enough to slide under the first blast door before backup generators kicked in. The second gate recognized her retinal scan. She didn't question why. Someone inside must have left her a crack. Maybe a sympathizer. Maybe bait. She moved anyway. The war room was a wide, circular arena lit by holograms of star charts, battle plans, and data feeds. 10 high-ranking officers stood at the edge of the room around a raised dais. In the center, Lord Keldrith stood tall in ceremonial armor, a hybrid of metal and bone, an affectation meant to signal both wisdom and war. He turned as she entered, calm as moonlight. "Captain Vasquez," he said, "I was hoping you'd come." Rhea didn't speak. She stepped forward, plasma pistol in one hand, a charge spike in the other. "You're a difficult woman to frame," Keldrith continued. "I gave you an ending, a clean one. Instead, you burn everything you touch. You killed a prince to start a war," she said, "and pinned it on me. The prince was an idiot. His death was strategic. Rhea's weapon remained raised. You tried to sell Earth. For what? Influence? A seat at a table of liars?" Keldrith smiled. "Survival. Your species is chaotic, primitive. You mistake rebellion for strength. I offered peace. You gave me corpses." Rhea raised her gun higher. "Then here's one more." But Keldrith flicked his wrist. 4 auto turrets dropped from the ceiling, locking onto her heat signature. She froze. Keldrith stepped closer. "I anticipated this. You think you're a myth, Rhea Vasquez. A walking ghost. But you're just a soldier too stubborn to die." "You're right," she said, and pressed the trigger on the charge spike. A high-frequency pulse erupted from her wrist pad, shorting the turret circuits and the station's localized defense network. Keldrith's smile cracked. Too late. Rhea moved. She fired twice, downing 2 guards, and threw herself over the dais. Another shot. A third. Chaos erupted. Officers screamed. Someone fired blindly. Rhea reached Keldrith, tackled him off the platform, and they fell together onto the steel floor below. He slashed at her with a vibroblade, fast, brutal. It nicked her side. She grunted, spun, and slammed her elbow into his jaw. The blade fell. He roared, lunging again, but she was faster. Her knee crashed into his chest, and her knife plunged through the weak point beneath his collarbone. He choked. She leaned in close. "You framed me. You murdered civilians. You nearly started a war." His breath came in shudders. "I did it for the Empire." "You did it for yourself." She twisted the blade. He died. 10 minutes later, The station's emergency protocols activated as the self-destruct sequence began. She had triggered it from Keldrith's console, his biometric data still warm on her gloves. Authorization, Keldrith. Final protocol, scorched sky. As klaxons screamed and red lights bathed the corridors, Rhea ran. She sprinted through emergency paths, past terrified officers and fleeing staff. She ignored the chaos, the fire, the warnings. She reached the hangar just as escape pods launched. Her stolen ID tag bypassed the lock on a light scout craft. As she lifted off, the station behind her exploded in stages, slow at first, then violently. A ring of fire bloomed across the void. Fragments scattered into the black. The Empire would call it sabotage. Earth would call it justice. And Rhea? She didn't call it anything. She was already gone. The message. The return to Earth's orbit was silent. Rhea Vasquez sat in the pilot's seat of the stolen Imperial scout craft, eyes fixed on the marble blue sphere growing larger in her view. The ship's AI was fried, burned out during her hard escape from the Karnas-class station's explosion. No comms, no guidance, just stars drifting like ash. She checked her wounds. 3 bruised ribs, a gash on her side from Keldrith's blade. Nothing fatal, nothing new. Below, Earth awaited with quiet judgment. She hadn't told Yelena she was coming. No debrief, no extraction order, no fanfare, just unfinished business and a file. In her satchel was the last message Keldrith ever composed, a confession recorded moments before her assault, marked eyes only, Imperial High Command. She'd extracted it from his personal terminal and sent it to Earth Intelligence on a delay protocol. It would arrive 5 minutes after she did. And with it, the truth. Yelena Arden stood at the Terran Council's central chamber, her expression blank as the file decrypted. The message played on the holoscreen in real time before the gathered representatives, military advisors, and President Lienshin herself. Lord Keldrith's voice was calm, clinical. His face showed no remorse, just the cold logic of power. We manufactured the summit. Prince Corvus was a pawn, strategically eliminated to provoke Earth into submission. Vasquez was the ideal scapegoat, an expendable symbol of resistance. The Baba Yaga myth worked in our favor, until she didn't. He smiled faintly. Should this message be played, then I am dead. That is acceptable. The Empire will shift blame, claim rogue elements. But know this, Earth was never weak. It was dangerous. That's why we moved first. The message ended. Silence held the room for several seconds. Then murmurs erupted. Shock, fury, questions. Chen raised a hand, silencing them all. No war, she said. General Rourke looked up. Madam President? No war, Chen repeated. We send a file to every neutral system, every media relay in the belt, every station between Mars and Vega. Let the Empire explain this. Let them drown in their own lie. What about Vasquez? Yelena asked quietly. Chen paused. Is she? She's here. Docked an hour ago. I ordered her brought in. To face trial? Yelena met the president's eyes. To debrief. Rhea stood alone in a decontamination chamber, stripped of her armor, body still slick with blood and soot. She hadn't spoken since landing. She didn't resist when the guards escorted her to holding. She didn't even flinch when a medical scanners passed over her wounds. A soldier through and through. But now, for the first time in weeks, she felt still. The door opened. Yelena stepped inside. You don't look dead, she said. Not for lack of trying, Rhea replied. You killed Keldrith. Burned an entire command station. He started it. Yelena chuckled softly. The message you sent, it worked. The entire galactic net is on fire. The Empire is scrambling. They're denying it, but they've lost the moral ground. Rhea said nothing. Yelena stepped closer. They'll still send hunters. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe not this year. But one day, they'll want revenge. Let them come. Yelena hesitated, then held out a small chip. Final orders. From Chun herself, Rhea took it and slotted it into her wrist pad. A single line of text appeared. You are hereby discharged, honorably and permanently. Earth owes you silence, freedom, and peace. She stared at it for a long moment. No medal. Yelena smiled. No parade, either. Good. Later, Rhea stood at the edge of a cliff in Patagonia, wind tearing through her short-cropped hair, cold sun casting long shadows. She wore civilian clothes now, black jeans, a weatherproof jacket, and no weapon in sight. The chip Yelena gave her sat in her coat pocket, though she didn't need it anymore. She had her name back, her freedom. She stared out over the valley, where condors soared above the snow line. No sounds of war, no mission briefing, no voices in her ear, just the quiet. She didn't know if she was healed. She didn't care. Behind her, the wind whispered across the rocks. A bird cried. Somewhere, a shuttle passed across the sky. But she remained still. She was no longer Baba Yaga, just Rhea, far across the system, on a remote moon in neutral space. A man in a deep crimson cloak watched the last broadcast of Keldrith's confession fade from his display. He closed the feed, sipped a bitter drink, and turned to the silent room behind him. Send word to the others, he said. Keldrith's fall is opportunity. The ghost has fulfilled her purpose. But the real game begins now. A pause, and if she interferes again, a smile. Then we'll need something worse than myths.